Welcome to the Kee To Growth Podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you're in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now.
Hey friends, it's Jen McKee, your host of the Kee To Growth Podcast. If you're a home service leader who's ready for bigger growth, stronger leadership, and more visibility in 2026, listen up. I'm hosting something brand new. The Growth Experience is a powerful 2-day conference happening right here in my hometown of San Antonio, Texas. This event is designed for you if you are an owner or leader who wants to scale smarter with profit-first financial clarity, stronger leadership and sales systems, real operational efficiency, how to use AI tools, and of course, modern marketing visibility that actually works. You're going to learn from incredible speakers, connect with the brightest minds in the trades, and walk away with strategies you can use immediately in your business. VIP spots will even get full content capture experience in two deep dive workshops on confidence, leadership, and storytelling. Tickets officially go on sale January 8th if you have saved your seat on the waitlist. Waitlist gets first access, best pricing, and early VIP access. So go to thegrowth-experience.com to get on the list. Trust me, this is a room you're going to want to be in. March 30th through April 1st, 2026 in San Antonio, Texas. See you there. Welcome back, everyone, to the Kee To Growth Podcast. I am your host, Jen McKee, and today I am here with someone. We were just talking about how we met. So we actually reconnected in the Sisterhood, which is an incredible group of women that have come together over the last couple months. But we originally met at my very first Service Titan event that I ever attended. I'm lucky to have known Sarah Gerardo, who connected me and allowed me to come to a Service Titan marketing toolbox a couple years ago. And that's where I met Michelle Jeppesen, who's now with Sendgym. So Michelle, if people are not familiar with you, please tell them who you are.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Jen. It's so fun to be here and connect with you again. So yeah, I have been in the home service industry for about a decade now and just helping really almost every niche within the home service industry with their growth. Started out by running a CSR call center for home services. And then now at Sendgym, where we have hyper-targeted marketing tools to help pros dominate neighborhoods.
Yeah. So how did you even get into home services?
I've always just been passionate about small businesses. I think they're they're really the roots and the bloodline of America and how, our country runs. And I love entrepreneurs. Their brains work a little bit different. Our brains still, right? But it's like, it's actually a gift. It's a good thing. So I've always loved working with them. And so just kind of found my way to different ways that I could serve them in both back end office support and then also just with marketing.
Yeah. Okay. So you went from CSR training to marketing. How did you end up with CSR call center?
Mm-hmm.
But how did you end up there into marketing?
Yeah. My undergrad's in psychology. And then, so before I got an MBA, I was kind of going down the route more of, okay, I'm going to just the psychology and help people out that way. But then what I realized is that business actually is all about psychology.
Right.
It's a way of getting into your customer's brain and learning why they buy and how they buy. And so I utilize those skills with helping answer calls because it was how do you turn someone who just, is calling your business for the first time into a loyal customer. And so it's all about the psychology of how you talk to them, how you phrase things, how you present the business, just little phrases in how you ask for an email that can make a huge difference, just little things like that. And so grew into I actually started a side hustle just helping out home service businesses with like websites and other marketing, and just grew really passionate about generating the calls, not just answering the calls. And so then I kind of pivoted over to Sendgym, where we're focused on marketing and generating leads.
So what all what all marketing techniques do you guys use to generate leads?
Yeah. So we are a software company. So our goal is to work with amazing agencies like yours or others that just kind of want to do marketing on their own, where we have tools where you can geofence your different zip codes or different areas, neighborhoods in your service area. So you can really hyper target who your ideal customer is based off demographics, based off property values, even based off cycle analytics, like behaviors that they do that might make them more likely to buy with you. And so that way you're not glitter marketing, as I call it, where you're just spreading your advertising everywhere, but you're really hyper targeting who's my ideal customer. And that's who I want to get in front of and stay in front of.
Okay, so you talk a lot about becoming 5 Mile famous. So share a little bit about what that means to you and then some best practices of actually making it happen.
Yeah, a lot of people make the mistake, businesses make the mistake of thinking, okay, I just need to dominate this whole entire major city. And so what happens is, I sometimes think of your marketing budget kind of like an orange. And if you take that orange and you squeeze it, into one glass, you're going to get that like a really rich juice. But if you take that same orange and you squeeze it into like 10 different glasses, it's going to be kind of a watered down juice. And so what we find to be most effective is if you take your marketing budget and you really hyper target into the ideal neighborhoods or your ideal customer profile so that you get the best return on that. And so a lot of business will pick a 5 mile radius or a certain neighborhood where you're like, okay, this is where a lot of my customers live. I want to get their neighbors. Because I always say that the neighbors of your current customers are your best next customer because they have similar homes, similar problems, built in a similar year. So if someone needed your service, then the neighbor probably does too. So they're great ones to target. And so it's just, hey, attack that, home by home, street by street, and just really become like surround sound 5 Mile famous in that neighborhood through lots of different methods.
So what are some of those ways that they can do that?
Yeah. So huge fans. I know you guys focus on digital ads. And I mean, that is one of the best ways to get leads, right? So every time you finish a job, making sure you're doing a 1 mile at least radius or maybe a little bit more than that of really targeting your ads there. But then in conjunction with that, to do, yard signs, make sure that your truck is branded so the neighbors are seeing it. And then what we specialize in is postcards. So we can automatically mail the neighbors of your customers after every job. And it can be really effective in different stages. So before you even come out and do the job, when the job first gets scheduled, you can automatically send a postcard, or we even have a robotic arm. So you can write handwritten notes for you automatically. So you're not actually writing it. To the neighbors and just letting them know, hey, we're going to be in the neighborhood. We, apologize in advance for any noise or, if our truck's in the way, please let us know. So you're just being very courteous, but you're letting the neighbors know, oh, okay, that this is a very thoughtful company. And then when they notice your truck there, maybe see your yard sign, it's going to kind of trigger that thought again to recognize your company. And then after the job's completed, automatically start a sequence of sending out a postcard every month for a few months, just because they might not be ready to make the decision right away. But that consistency of seeing a billboard essentially in their mailbox several times will help them be, when they are ready to make that decision of which company they want to go with, they're going to choose you because you're familiar. So, things like that.
I love that. So what is like the typical ROI on postcards right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the thing about postcards is they say the average is that they live for 17 days. So, so you're going to have some people that just throw it away immediately. Obviously that happens, but it still maybe catches their eye.
People have great self-control.
They do. Yeah. But a lot of people are going to grab that postcard. They're going to maybe stick it in that drawer, magnet on their fridge for the someday when they need that. And so again, if you're doing that consistently, then it's at some point they usually hold on to that card. We've done some studies that found that, usually it takes about 3 to 5 touches for them to really respond of seeing, consistently in your mailbox. But yeah, so it can live. We've had people who have called on a postcard because they'll have a specific QR code that we can tie to it that was sent literally like 3 years ago. And it still lived in their home, but it was like, now they're ready to make that choice. And, if it's like a deck builder or something, you're closing a, several $1,000 job from a postcard that was, 70 cents that you sent a few years ago.
So interesting. So it sometimes is a longer cycle.
It can be. Yeah. I mean, we see anywhere from what we say is if you do direct mail, if you're looking for quick wins, you need to go more like digital, to get those fast leads. Direct mail is really good to accent it. Once you've kind of saturated, okay, I'm spending as much as I can on Meta. I can't do any more local service ads. My Google ads are going, but I need more people. So that's when it can be really effective. How do you find people that maybe aren't on Facebook, or how do you find people that maybe aren't ready yet? They're more in the awareness stage, so they're not Googling it yet. How do you get in front of them? Or like I mentioned, how do you work in conjunction with it? So they're seeing them on their phones, they're in your mailbox, they're everywhere. I got to call this company. So we say that you really want to try it for a consistent year if you really want to see those higher returns. You can start getting leads, as soon as you start sending out the mail. But with a lot of our clients, they're seeing a 4X or more return once they do that consistency of using it for a year. Just yesterday, one of our window replacement companies was sharing their results that they've been doing neighbor mailings for about a year now, and they're getting a 17x return. So you can get some amazing numbers. Consistency is really the key.
Yeah. What does the investment usually look like on postcards?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have different sizes, anything from your, 4x6 to we've got, a 6x11. So it really fills up the whole bottom of the mailbox. So it kind of just depends on different strategies if you want to send more masses or mass postcards or send a bigger one. But it can be anywhere from as low as like 72 cents to, $1.50, kind of depending on what size you're sending and things like that. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So maybe a couple $1,000s a month.
Sure.
Depending on how many you send.
Yeah, exactly. And we do every door direct mail as well, and then you can get the price down even lower. It's just a strategy. Every door direct mail, you have to hit a whole mail route, so you can't so much hyper focus or hyper target. So it's kind of like, do you want to send more at a lower price, or do you want to hyper target that costs a little bit more? But it's kind of just a strategy game there.
So interesting. So, you're talking about this like longer game. And I think in general, what we're seeing is that the consumer is playing a longer game. So regardless of whether people just they're not investing as quickly as they used to into things, especially when it comes to like higher ticket items. So I think all marketing is kind of seeing a longer, what is that word? Like run rate, people are taking longer.
Yeah.
And they need more touch points, really. What are some things that you're seeing your clients do in marketing besides postcards that is working really well for them?
Yeah. Great question. Texting's huge. We also have automated texting within our platform. So, and we get insane return rates from that because everybody's on their phone, right? We had a client, a garage floor coating client, who sent out a text message to like dead leads. These were ones who literally told them no a few months ago. They said, no, we don't want to go forward with you guys, but they still had them in their CRM. But they didn't specifically say, don't reach out to me anymore, right? They just said, not at this time or whatever. So they texted them and generated $89,000 out of revenue off that dead lead list. Because a lot of them just hadn't ever made a decision, and then now they were more ready, or maybe they started with someone else and they weren't happy with them, so they were looking for someone else. So texting can be really effective to, one, work your list, both of your leads and your customers. If you have a business that thrives on repeat customers, texting's huge. I always say it's like, sometimes we get weird about marketing, like we're bothering people, but why is it any different than the dentist reminding you it's time for your cleaning every 6 months, or the pharmacy texting you you're due for a refill? Like if you're reaching out to let people know, hey, it's time for your tune-up, or it's time to get your carpets cleaned again, or whatever it is, you're just being like, you're doing them a service by reminding them. And texting is super powerful for that. So we don't promote any cold texting because you want to be careful about that. But any of the leads you've already generated off Meta or off any other way that you've gotten these leads in, postcards, another great way. The way once you've gotten them as interested, filled out some form on your website, then those are great to nurture. And then also, your customer list. And then the other thing with texting is, so we do like broadcast text, which can be really effective for like quick cash when you need to fill up your calendar. Really effective for like spring specials or seasonal things to your list, but then also automating the follow-up. So, after they fill out a form on your website, to engage with them immediately, right? We're a speed to lead kind of culture now. And so if you're immediately starting to engage them with a text, check in with them after you do the estimate. I think it's a really effective for getting repeat customers if a text from the owner comes to them after the job was done to check in on how the technician did. So things like that are huge.
Yeah, I love that. I my brain's automatically going with the remarketing thing, because I just think that is a really great underutilized marketing technique, is just reaching back out to these people again. Because you're right, I always think about the dentist too, and mostly because I'm like a year behind on when I was supposed to go last, and I'm like, if they would just text me, I would for sure schedule it, because I forget about it during the day and then it just goes away at night, like they're not there or whatever. And so I think you're absolutely right. And we try to tell contractors that too. Like, you have to text them a lot, and it's not because you're being annoying, but it's because people simply forget. There's often, I'm in meetings for the entire day. So if somebody texts me and I just happen to look at it, so now that notification's gone, and then I'm not ever looking back at that. I did nothing with it at this point, and I'm not doing anything with it in the future. So unless you text me again and remind me, that was it. Now it's completely gone from my brain.
Exactly.
And so that's why you have to just keep texting them and keep following up until you really get an answer.
Your conference, you're having Michael Michalowicz come speak. All right.
Yes.
He wrote a great book. Well, he's written so many great books, but Get Different. I loved that one because I loved how in there he talked about how it's literally your responsibility as a business owner to stay in front of your customers. And if they forget about you, that's your fault. It's not their fault. And so it's your responsibility. You're providing the service. You started a business because you're filling a need in our world and you're helping people. You need to remind them that you exist and that they need your help. And that's your responsibility. So you're not annoying, you're fulfilling your responsibility.
For sure. Absolutely. And that actually reminds me of something. I'm going to take over this for a second, but it's like my soapbox. And so, and the soapbox is why your personal brand is so important, because of what you just said right there. My hand was on the wrong side. But it's so often that people do not post about on social media what they do. As a business owner, you have this whole business. You might have a $3, $5, $7 million HVAC business, and you never, ever, ever post that on Facebook. Or maybe you just started and you have a $500,000 business and you're trying to get leads. You never, ever, ever post about it on Facebook. And then you see, this, your kid's friend's parents at a soccer game, and they're telling you about how they just had to invest in this whole new HVAC system that cost them $46,000. And they had no idea that you did that, where there's no reason that they shouldn't know that. Every single person's Facebook has 20 years of network for us, 20 years of people that and these are people you went to high school with, to college with, that you used to live in your neighborhood, that used to live in your apartment complex, that you used to hang out with when you were 25. All of those people should know what you do, because then when they need you, they know who to call. If you're never telling people what you do, you're never posting about it, you're never making it known, then they're not going to call you. They're going to go to Google and search for the top solution. And of course, you want to be the top solution there too, but why not even get them before that? It's going to be so much easier for you to close a job with somebody who already knows you and trusts you. Key Marketing specializes in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to build your brand awareness or drive leads using social media ads. If you're ready to elevate your social media, go to keymarketing.com or follow us on social media.
Love that. Yeah. And again, I love that you talk about it, Jen, about branding yourself and making sure people know what you do, because again, you're just being helpful. I know who to call when my toilet's overflowing because there's someone, one of my friends from high school does that. That's so cool. And so you got to, and trust is huge when you're letting people into their homes. You hit on something else too there is, I think you mentioned something about additional services. I can't remember if you said that or not, but I think that's a huge other thing that you should be marketing to your list about. And texting is a great way. Also, postcards and things like that to let people know, oh, by the way, did you know we added on plumbing? We don't just do HVAC now. And or, with a lot of our exterior cleaners, they do holiday lights. So, your window cleaning clients are the perfect ones to let them know, hey, we also do this, by the way. Don't worry about getting on the ladder this year. And so again, you're just doing them a service by giving them a heads up through these different platforms to let them know this is additional things that you take care of for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. We work with mostly plumbing and HVAC, so that's kind of what I'm going to guide this question towards. But have you seen any really awesome offers or unique offers that people have done that just caught a lot of attention? Maybe it was a creative. Like, do you guys help with creative, or is it typically just like stock photos, or how does that part work?
Yeah. To start into that question, I want to tell you about recently we had a data scientist team who studied millions of postcards that have been sent out and just thought, like, what makes them effective? Like what converts. And they found that 50% is who you send it to. So 50% is just, are you targeting the right customers? It's all about that targeting. And then another 30% is your offer. So that's going to be fun to answer that question. And then the other 20% is everything else, the design. And I'm curious if you notice a similar thing in the social media ads that you do. If it's a lot like audience, offer, and then obviously the design and everything else is important, but you got to make sure you're getting to the right people and getting them something that they want to act on, right? So to answer your question on the design, yes, we have a professional designers on our team who can help, who make beautiful postcards. So we have that taken care of. We have some people who like to upload their own. We have a builder in there. You can make your own, and we have templates you can pick from. So lots of options as far as the design goes. The offer is huge. And this is where a lot of people, I think A/B testing is huge here, of testing different offers. And I think this is where I love digital and print working together, because I think it's faster to test things on digital. So if you have something that's working really well on your digital ads and you've tested different things, what's the offer that's working best there? And then that might be the one that works best on your print. But try different ones to see what resonates the most. What our data scientist team also found is that $1 off almost always performs better than a percentage off. And I think it comes down to brain calories. Donald Miller is another one of my favorite authors, and he talks a lot about like paying attention to the brain calories that your marketing costs your audience, meaning like how hard is it for them to figure out what you're offering. So if it's a percentage off, you're saying like 10% off a water cooler or a water heater, I don't know.
You're like, what does that mean?
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But if you say, 100 off or 200 off a new water heater, then it's easier for me to consume. It takes less brain calories. So it's easier for me to take action. So we always recommend doing a $1 off rather than a percentage off on postcards. But I have seen some creative things. I mean, some people will offer, some people will do giveaways. Like and it's a good way, especially if you're just trying to build a list and then want to follow up with them via email and text and other means of like offering maybe a free water cooler. So anyone that's, in the market that, hey, I might be going out soon is going to scan the QR code and get involved. I think, and the other thing that's effective is, I always say, have a deadline. So quick action, something with, $1 off, but then they need to take action by this time in order to get it. Those usually always perform better. So those are some of the tips I've seen.
Yeah. So I want to like respond to some of the things that you said. The first one was like, if that is the same thing that we're looking at with meta ads. And what's really interesting is that there's not a lot of targeting that Meta wants you to do anymore. And your targeting all comes from your creative. So the creative is really king in Meta. So it's probably a little bit different in that way. And that's because social media is such a creative platform. We're like looking at pictures and copy. And that's really what targets your customers with Facebook ads. The offer is also really big. And I think that one thing that a lot of business owners probably don't understand about marketing is that you might not get the offer right at first, and that's okay. So you have to know that you're going to, with all marketing, even with Sendgym specializing in postcards, what works for an HVAC company in San Antonio may not work for an HVAC company in Austin, even though their markets are right next to each other. The people that are in there are so different. And so the offers are going to be different. What works for one zip code might not work for another zip code. The offers are always going to be, you always have to test them and then collect the data and then make decisions based on that. So, but yeah, the offer being really clear is a big one for us. Like, it should be really obvious what somebody is saying yes to. Otherwise, you get a lot of leads of people who like aren't really ready for it because they don't know.
Love that. Jen, you asked a little bit ago too about other marketing methods. I wanted to touch on a couple more. One is, are you familiar with voicemail bombs?
Like ringless voicemail?
Yeah, ringless voicemail. We call them voicemail bombs. So yeah, so that's another tool that can be really effective. Again, mostly with your list and I really love this again as part of the customer journey. So if you as the owner record this one time of just thanking them for choosing your company, checking on how everything is going, we'd love to get a review from you. If anything went wrong, let me know. And you get a message from the owner after a job is completed. Like that's so powerful to help with referrals and get that customer to keep coming back. And so that's a really effective tool that I love. It also can work really well. Like text messaging blasts are great too. Your list every seasonally, but also that voicemail. And I even say do both together. Can be really effective. So they're seeing the missed call and then they're also seeing a text. And then the other thing is I call it lumpy mail. So it's basically sending gifts. And this is really for that nurturing of customers is where I think it is most effective. But, if you have a lead that's potentially you're going to do a whole new HVAC system for, and you go out and do an estimate, or maybe you did something for them earlier and they're in the market to go for that, to get, maybe a more expensive service soon, sending them a box of brownies in the mail or some cookies and things like that can be really effective, again, to set your company apart from all the others because you're just giving that extra thought and it's feeding their dopamine, right, with the food. So that can be a really effective tool.
I do love that. I think about that. Well, we send a lot of birthday gifts to our clients, but we've been thinking about sending gifts to leads also. So I think that that's a really good idea. And it's like, I think what everybody... Okay, first of all, two things. I was talking to my CPA the other day and we were talking about sales and he's like, when you're looking at sales, you have to figure out like, is this a lead issue or is this a sales issue? And it's really easy to tell. Like, do you have leads? If you don't have leads, like this is a marketing issue and you need more leads coming in. If you do have leads and they're not converting or they're not converting high enough, then it's a sales and operations problem. So like when you're looking at your business of what you need more of, is it a marketing issue? Are you not getting enough leads? And if so, then you can look at marketing. Or are you getting leads and you're not able to convert them? And in that case, it's a sales and internal issue. And I think that that's always a really good thing to consider when you're thinking about your company. And then also that marketing is a constant test and everything that you're doing is constantly testing what's working, testing if it works for your business, testing if it works for your market, testing if it works for your offer, always testing.
Yep. Love that. 100%.
Awesome. Okay. So everybody who comes on the Kee To Growth podcast is asked the same question at the end. And so that is where we've come. And the question is, what is the key to growth?
Key to growth. I would say consistent saturation. So staying in front of your list, staying in front of your customers, staying in front of your leads and your neighborhoods consistently. And so they can't forget your name.
Yeah, for sure. Be unforgettable. I love that. If people are trying to connect with you and with Sendgym, where should they go?
Yeah, so the best place is just you can check out our socials. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, or sendgym.com, and you can learn more there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really feel like there were so many great takeaways for anyone listening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jen.